Good yields and good commodity prices. What more do you need? Farmers will buy equipment. This is reflected in recent data from the South African Agricultural Machinery Association, which shows a steady uptick in the sales of tractors and combines. Jim Rankin from Agfacts gives some perspective on this trend. Lisa Roberts also chats to Chantel Arendse from CropLife South Africa, this time about biotech crops and food security. But first, over to Lisa for the latest agricultural news.
In ons maandag nuus, die wêreld se grootste spesialis koelskip, die MV Koel Eagle, het onlangs in Durban se hawe aangekom. Die reuse skip sal gebruik word om Suid-Afrika se rekord sitrusvolumes uit te voer. Plaaslike sitruskwekers sal na verwagting hierdie seisoen 'n rekord van 163 miljoen sitrushouers uitvoer. Dit is die eerste keer dat een van hierdie nuwe generasie koelskepe Suid-Afrika besoek. En die wolmark het tydens van dese week se veiling met 4% gedaal. Die mark het uiteindelik teen R157,53 per kilogram gesluit. Die rand het 2,88% sterker teen die Amerikaanse dollar verhandel, wat die mark negatief beïnvloed het. Die oorgrootste meerderheid van die wol op die veiling was 20 mikron en fyner met 'n medium lengte. Die Australiese mark het effens beter presteer en was 0,69% op teenoor die vorige veiling. And the 2021 installment of Huntex will go ahead as planned. This annual event for the hunting industry is scheduled to take place from 10 to 13 June. This follows a disagreement between the organisers and the South African Police Services. EduShow, the owners of Huntex, subsequently filed a complaint against the SAPS in the Gauteng High Court. The SAPS initially opposed the application, but an agreement was later reached. A settlement has also been reached regarding COVID-19 restrictions, and that's today's news.
Netafim. Grow more with less.
Agricultural machinery sales continue to rise in South Africa. What were the reason for this increase, and is it sustainable? Dr. Jim Rankin, he's been in the studio before. He's from Agfacts, and they process this information. And we're going to talk to him about the current sales and, of course, the future. Jim, yes, the Agricultural Machinery Association's new data reflects a continuous rise in sales. What drives this increase?
I think there's several things. Firstly, we're sitting on a maize crop which is going to be over 16 million tons. I'm not sure if it's a record one, but certainly a second highest ever.
That's correct.
And a soybean crop which is what is it? It's 1.8 million tons, which is about 40% up on last year. And so soybeans have been growing, bit of a pun, a lot in recent years. It's become a very popular crop in rotation with maize because it's a legume and it works very well. And so we've got massive maize and soybean crops. And in many areas, the harvesting has been going on in Mpumalanga, and in many areas they are pulling off record yields. I'm amazed. Some of those yields under dryland, we're getting 10, 12 tons per hectare.
But we've had good rain.
Yes, as a result of the good rains and the good spread of rains in the summer cropping season. So some places they've said that the quality is not up to peak. But certainly the crops are excellent. And on the other side, the commodity prices are good. Maize prices come up. This rand has been strong, so that's been supporting the commodity prices. So good yields, good prices, and what more do you need? Farmers will buy equipment, particularly in those areas, in the summer cropping areas.
So what do you predict for the rest of the year?
The chairman of SAMA and Karel Minnick and I, we differ slightly. I'm a numbers person, and I don't see that the rate of growth can continue. He says, Jim, it's going to continue. So what's the answer? I think possibly it's somewhere in between. Right. There's no question that farmers are going to spend money, and they're going to spend it on agricultural machinery. So I think I've got to be a little bit conservative and say that and I'm talking like an economist now, the rate of growth is going to slow down a little bit. But we thought at the beginning of the year that the sales might be similar to what they were last year, but they're going to be between 15 and 20% at least more than last year in terms of tractor sales.
And if we look a little bit further, long term, what trend do you think would there be as far as tractor and combine sales?
Long term is always difficult to predict, because what happens is you get cycles of sales. When conditions are favorable, you get good sales, and farmers replace their old equipment, and then it's really dependent on mainly the weather, and then obviously on commodity prices. So it's difficult to predict, but there's no reason to think that sales in 2022 will be much different from 2021.
Now, production at several company facilities worldwide has been affected by COVID-19. Will this affect availability of equipment in South Africa?
Yes and no. Most agricultural machinery international companies have got manufacturing facilities in various parts of the world. And I think of South America, Mexico, North America, Europe, India, Turkey, Japan, China. So yes, some of the facilities will have been closed because of COVID, but what the companies can do is they can source from a different factory in a different country which hasn't been affected.
Does that mean a different brand, or is it the same brand, manufactured in different countries?
It'll be the same brand,
right?
Definitely, and it depends how quickly the different companies reacted, because I think that we've found during COVID that you have to think on your feet, and you have to move quickly, and I think that will affect some of the companies. The companies that moved the quickest will be able to react to any problems in facilities producing equipment. But no, I think that everybody will be able to bring in tractors that the farmers want and need. The brands will certainly be the same. Some of the models might change a little bit, but really, I don't think that there'll be a disruption of the supply of equipment.
Jim, thank you very much for coming into studio today, all the way from Johannesburg.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa.
Dr. Jim Rankin from Agfacts, who process information on agricultural machinery data.
Goeiemôre kykers, in die termynmarkverslag vandag kan nog gesien word dat graan sowel as oliesade 'n redelike slegte week beleef het vir lewering in Julie verlede week. Wit en geel mieliepryse is onderskeidelik met 4,2 en 5,1% af en dis op die rug van laer internasionale pryse met Amerika se reenseisoen waarmee dit goed gaan en aanplantings wat baie vinniger vorder as verlede jaar. Horingpryse is met 1,6% af, sonneblompryse 2,3% gedaal terwyl sojabone se prys met 6,9% af is. En dis met veral Brasilië wat ook 'n rekord oes verwag hierdie jaar. Goeie nuus is dat die olieprys 2,9% gedaal het, terwyl die rand sy man gestaan het teenoor die vernaamste wisselkoerse, 1,3% sterker teenoor die dollar week op week, 0,3% sterker teenoor die pond en 0,4% sterker teenoor die euro.
NutriFeeds, die formule vir sukses.
Chantel Arendse from CropLife South Africa joins us once again in studio today. And in a previous occasion, we talked to her about plant biotech stewardship. Today, the focus is on biotech crops and, of course, food security, which is a very important topic for discussion. Chantel, once again, welcome. How is agriculture contributing towards the food security challenge?
Okay, well, as you know that, farmers are on the front line when it comes to producing enough food to feed everybody. And to date, there have been, numerous plant innovations that have already helped to increase food production. And these have included things like, improved varieties, mechanization, digital technology, and even the use of agrochemicals and fertilizers. But as we know, this has not been enough and will not be enough to ensure that there's enough food, for everybody, because farmers are expected to accelerate food production and produce up to 70% more food by 2050, when the world population is expected to exceed 9 billion people. And so, of course, it's going to take, I think, a momentous effort, and it's going to require a range of different crop technologies and different approaches to help us, I think, meet those food security challenges.
So can biotech crops help to secure enough food?
I would say, after 24 years or so of global adoption of biotech crops, there has been, I think, collectively an increase of 822 million tons that have been added in the production space due to biotech crops. And of course, when we look at the main adopters of the biotech crops have been those with insect-resistant traits as well as herbicide-tolerant traits. And by providing better weed control and better protection against damaging insects, this has, helped farmers to have substantially increased gains in terms of yield. And, these production efficiencies with biotech seeds, has been achieved without the need of additional land being needed to produce more. So in this way, biotech crops have helped ensure that every hectare that is cultivated, is maximized. But, I would say yes, that there is enough documented evidence to support the fact that biotech crops have made a contribution and will have a role to play, but also at the same time just to caution that it's not a silver bullet.
Right, not a solution completely.
Yes, a complete solution. Yeah. And that rather we should look at, biotech crops as being integrated into the food production system. And this is definitely a way that can help us to get there and meet those global food security challenges.
But Chantel, give us some examples of how biotech crops have actually helped farmers to adapt and become more resilient at increasing food production.
Okay, well, due to the superior, performance and benefits of herbicide-tolerant and insect-resistant traits, I've mentioned that these are the most widely adopted traits. And these traits have also, as I mentioned, due to these reduced losses and have provided, extensive yield outcomes for farmers. But these yield outcomes have not only benefited commercial farmers, but also smallholder farmers, in that allowing them to produce even more food, not just to feed themselves, but also to have a surplus, which in turn helps them to generate an income and also to improve their livelihoods. And I would say that, the other ways that biotech crops are giving farmers the upper hand is through drought-tolerant crops.
Of course.
Yeah. And, these crops allow farmers to maintain those production efficiencies even when there is prolonged drought or little water. And this technology is already commercially available in South Africa, the drought-tolerant technology. But of course, it will also be useful in large parts in Africa, where there's erratic rainfall and also, they suffer from drought. And the good news is that there's already an initiative underway to make these drought-tolerant varieties available in selected countries in Africa as well. And of course, this will help them also, these countries to also, or help Africa, I would say, to progress towards that food security.
Yes, talk to us about the future. What does the future hold for biotech crop innovation and food security?
Well, that every day we live with the reality of global warming, climate change, and natural disasters. And these erratic, climatic conditions, it doesn't make it any easier for farmers to produce enough food or increase production. And so, in the pipeline, we have the development of what we call them climate resilient crops. And these have incorporated traits, that would make plants better able to, use nitrogen. They would make plants better able to, withstand heat stress as well as cold stress, and even make them able to grow in very salty conditions. So those are some of the climate resilient crops that are in the pipeline. And then obviously, we deal with increased insect pressure.
Of course.
Yeah, and so we always have insects emerging and moving to different parts of the world. So obviously, as the technology advances, there will be these input traits towards insect resistance that are better adapted at, offering protection against a wider range of insects. And these are just some of the ways I think that biotechnology is helping. And like I said before, the technology is definitely part of the solution to helping us reach our food security goals.
Well, we trust we will reach our food security goals very soon. Thank you very much, Chantel. And that's more on biotech crops and food security. And we thank Chantel Arendse once again. She's from CropLife South Africa.
Burback, shaping the future of animal health.
Goeiemôre en weer eens welkom by Plaas TV se veilingskalender. Ons skop van dese week se veilingskalender op die 25ste Mei af met die Poggenpoel Poebons Maras se 16de produksieveiling. En die veiling sal plaasvind by die Stella veilingskompleks in die Noordwes. En die veiling word dan aangebied deur Noord-Kaap Lewende Hawe. Dan op die 26ste Mei hou FUZ Bonsmaras hulle totale uitverkoping van hulle stoet. En die veiling vind plaas in Ventersburg in die Vrystaat. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit in 6 stoetvaars, 19 2,5 jaar oue bulle, 22 20 maande oue bulle en 300 vroulike diere in alle produksiestadia. En die veiling word gebring deur die BKB Louet. Dan op die 4de Junie hou Sernik Ponsmaras hulle 43ste produksieveiling by die plaas Liebenbergstroom in Edenville. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit in 60 fase C getoetste stoetbulle en 600 vroulike diere. Dis al van my kant af vir die week, tot volgende week. Totsiens.